Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive Live. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to us do this thing here on the Believe Podcast Network. And of course, make sure if you're not listening, you're watching on the Duval Dive YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell like I did and all that stuff. Travis, good gravy. This ending. Here's the thing. There's a lot to unpack, and not just because it was an overtime 30-29 game. What on earth? We'll unpack it. We know what happened. We were there watching it. You know, we'll say that. Yeah, Zenith RX already in the comments. Not only do we beat the Raiders in the last game of the old Raiders Stadium, we beat them at the Carroll Memorial. Carroll Davis, of course, is who he's referring to. Raiders owners must hate us. Well, there's something to that, but I think there's a lot more local and immediate things that are impacting things now. Both these team seasons in different ways, sort of impacted by this. And I'm going to say this, Travis, because I know we did the Duval Dive on Thursday night, and it was before you came in on Friday to announce the gut punch, as you worded it, Travis Hunter, not to mention all the other injury-related hoopla such that there was. This had the feel, Travis, of a game that the Jags were in earlier, except the roles were reversed, right? Remember, you talking about playing the 49ers. I felt like that the Jags had to beat the Niners in this game if they were to be taken seriously. I feel like if the Raiders really thought they could turn things around, try to compete in the AFC West, try to make themselves maybe a playoff comeback story, they would need to beat the Jags in a situation where Travis Hunter's gone, Devin Lloyd's out. Sometime throughout the game, De'Ami Brown and Brian Thomas Jr. are in line at the injury booth. You lose Trayvon Walker because he punched a dude. Okay. All these other different things are happening. And I'm not even getting into analyzing Trevor Lawrence. That's going to get its own segment, because yet again, another game where that's a difficult question to ask, answer, and figure out all in itself. But
you forgot about losing Johnny Munn at one point, and all being down to one tight end on the roster and having to go tight end with
Hunter Long. Damn, that's a good point. Yeah, Johnny Munn coming in the game for Hunter Long. Hunter Long would return eventually. That's why I forgot about it. My bad. I lost count. It was an overtime game, but we're doing this from the hip, Travis. I am but human. Okay. So, with all that being said, human or otherwise, the Jacksonville Jaguars now with a fifth win, finally officially better than last year. And I think the irony of this, I'm just coming up with this, the timeline I think matches. It was the Raiders game that started to put them in that Travis Hunter sweepstakes area last year. I could be off there with my timeline remembering that, but if that's the case, that would just be a perfect whole bit of, shall we say, karma in that whole situation. But yeah, and by the way, on top of everything else, the game ends on a stab by Devon Hamilton of all things. Okay, here's how you know the NFL is not scripted. Who would write this? Bleep. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Well, you say who would write it, but like there's so much. I mean, between the first half of the game being as bad, and I want to be honest about, like, we all have eyes. We know what this is. We know what we're watching. The first half was so bad. And as bad as the first half was for the Jacksonville Jaguars, to be losing a game where they, in every objective way, should have been winning, it was that exciting of a second half of a game. I mean, you had 5 lead changes between the fourth quarter and the overtime period. You get a second and a half between Josh Hines Allen, who was for the most part quiet throughout the majority of the game, and then in the fourth quarter and the overtime comes alive and ends the game, or ends the last play of the game with the sack. Gets a half sack in overtime. You get all of those things. You get Cam Little having an NFL record, on the last on the field goal, 68-yard field goal that he drills that would have gone in from 70 plus. And it felt like one of those things that was kind of muted because of how bad they played in the first half. You couldn't even celebrate it like as much because you just felt so bad about the penalties and everything in the first half.
the 3 halftime score. I mean, yay, 68-yarder. Like,
Right. And have all of that happen to wrap this thing up with a victory for the Jaguars. And it's like, I don't know how to feel. Like, I'm happy that they won with all the great accolades and the positives that come out of that. Because again, you get Travis Hunter. We talked about this on the Travis Hunter breaking, recap. That the fact of the matter, they lost Travis Hunter that late in the week after you spent the whole bye week planning around that guy being on the field. You spend that was your guy who you were going to platform and then all of a sudden you have to change it all there. You end up losing Tim Patrick, so he's not playing in the game. You end up losing at one point Brian Thomas Jr. with an ankle. You end up losing your tight end, so you're down to one tight end. It's just so much offensively to then score 24 points in the fourth quarter, and is a lot. Like that's crazy. And yeah, to Robert Lamson's point,
we didn't even mention Eric Murray. We didn't mention Eric Lewis leaving the game, or Jordan Lewis leaving the game.
Lewis.
Yeah, those were both factors too. Great call out, Robert. The list is so damn long. Like I said, I am but human.
Okay. Very long. It's a very long list. And if they would have lost the game, folks would still be able to probably step back on Wednesday and say all these things that we're saying right now. And say, hey, yeah, like let's take a step back. But then they probably end the conversation saying, but it's still the Raiders. And we'd be like, well, yeah, you're right. And that's kind of where this goes with the NFL, with the parity and everything else, especially with you're down so many guys. But we talked about this on the IR, the Travis Hunter to IR episode. When the Raiders are as healthy as they've been this season, entering this game, and the Jaguars are as injured as they've been all season entering this game and leaving the game as worse.
Bro, can we talk about that real quick? How are you the least healthy you've been after a damn bye week? How does that happen?
It's Jaguars found it because Jaguars, bro.
Because like, sometimes. Shoot, man, what do you do with that? Like I've had to resist myself from cursing no fewer than 3 times, and I'm not even the card-carrying member of the Duval about it.
I cackled on at least 3 occasions. Let's talk about one of the occasions right now. Let's show the folks one of the occasions. So I cackled on the last play of the game, and folks might not have noticed it, but if you were paying any remote attention, you might have noticed Tyler Lockett recently signed with the Raiders. On the final 2-point, the final play of the game, the 2-point conversion, he's in the slot receiver at the top of the screen. Antonio Johnson is covering him. Bust the coverage. He's wide open. NFL, college, high school, Pop Warner wide open. Game's over. Jaguars lose there. If Devon Hamilton does not make the play out of his mind, because Devon Hamilton, the defensive tackle, you can tell he knows he's not going to get pressure on the quarterback because he's double teamed. He just stops in his tracks, gets up there, knocks the ball down. Great play. But yeah, Tyler Lockett, wide open, bro. That's the ball game, and the Jaguars lose by 1 if that happens. So great play, Devon Hamilton, because again, that's unexpected. But that one for me, I'm like, oh,
that could Vegas. Be the season by that play, quite literally. And I think the thing that's most telling is like, the desperation cobra, the defeat cobra that you see in football. Like, go back, bring the video back up, Travis. I'm not done yet. I want the football divers to see this. Look carefully at Tyler Lockett at the back of the screen. He does the cobra in the air. Replay it. Keep it rolling so they can see it. You say, whoop, right there. It's in midair. He does the cobra. That's how crazy it is. I've never seen a midair cobra like that before. Have you seen a cobra fly? Well, we have now. Oh my gosh, this is nuts.
Oh, Zenith, shout out. More like Devon Hamilton. All right, yeah, that's right. That's right. He deserves that.
So the reason why that's funny, and I don't know if it's you, Zenith. Let me know if it is, if you're willing to cop to it. But the comments have been lighting that cat up all season, and now we got Devon Hamilton.
And all he's been is a dominant run stopper. Like that's such a negative thing. He's very dang good at the thing that they need him to do on first down, stop the run, and plug the middle. Like that is what he is there for. They're just mad that he's not a pass rusher, which is kind of not his game. It's
no one was going to take his shot. I'll tell you what.
But it was his game on that play, knocking that ball down. He found a way to get it done. So hey, man, shout out. Like it was a good. I can't even say good game because it doesn't matter if it's a good game. You won. Tim Jones Jones. Social alky. Tim Jones gets relegated gets raised up from the practice squad after the Travis Hunter injury and placing him on IR. Tim Jones makes the 15-yard play late in the game to get these
What a
guys in.
smart play for a quote practice guy to get his butt out of bounds too. It wasn't just the yards; he stopped the clock. So huge in that moment, Travis.
It's not just him. Austin Trammell with what was it, a 54, 55-yard kick return to open overtime? Like, brother,
yeah, 54. You got it.
That is crazy. Just a lot of guys, a lot of unheralded guys who you just didn't expect to be showing out. Parker Washington, Lord Jesus, like
this is
shout out
Parker Washington. Yeah, I what else can we say, man? I'm not saying he's going to get a big contract, but man.
Right. So I don't know how much it moves the needle on what the Jaguars are going to do when you're talking like big picture stuff, like big picture stuff like the trade deadline and who they're going to bring in, who they're not. I mean, you got Brenton Strange that's going to be coming back from IR over the next few weeks. I believe he would be able to show up as early as the Chargers game. You're probably going to have Patrick Herbert, being active in the tight end room, and they may have to add another guy depending on how they feel about what they have going on around it, or how long Quentin Morris is going to be out. Like, you got wide receiver options. Like, what do they want to do there? What do you want to do at safety? Because again, I didn't think it was a great game at safety either. I mean, let me be very clear. The Raiders, they literally attacked the Jaguars via the tight ends, Brock Bowers and Myers all game, and the running backs out of the backfield.
Mayer did his part to actually lose the Raiders of the game. He had a number of drops, less than great routes run. I felt like, boy, do they love to split their tight ends out. Like, I thought only skinny guys like Jimmy Graham did that. These dudes are huge, and they're out there, just they're. I might have seen Brock Bowers get in a stance late in the game only a few times, but obviously that's smart to do. You want that isolation. Jarian Jones might be a good corner, but he's not good enough to get around all that bulk.
But that's what it is. It's a smart thing to do because you first know that you're going to get the guy, the other teams. Normally, you're going to get that base offense, the base defense, just because you have the two tight ends on the field. And that then, if they're trying to match you in the right ways, then they're probably going to put their base defense on the field to your two tight end sets. But if they don't, then you're going to have a big old tight end, like you just said, on a smaller cornerback, and they got to get around that big old body, and that's just very difficult. Like, I would rather play against a smaller guy who's faster than have to go over or around a big guy who can just post me up. So I definitely get it. But Jarian found a way to make the play later in the game.
Correct.
The pass breakup at the goal line, but it was a close one that the announcers are complaining about. Maybe it could have been called. He grabs the hip, whatever. But hey, man. There can be pass interference and holding on every play. You know how this goes. So absolutely. I'm here for it.
There was a couple that the Raiders got away with to extend it to overtime in the first place that were quite terrible holds that I felt decided the outcome of the game, or at least thought might. All it seemed to do was delay the inevitable, as the Jaguars would end up winning the football game. But, man, I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to leave this by saying not all interceptions are created equal. Montaric Brown with that pick. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I felt like he made a read. I felt like he came down on a ball that wasn't necessarily poorly thrown. He just, I think he read Gino's eyes and just made an athletic play. Mayer, I mentioned, I don't think he trailed per se. He just didn't come driving back to the ball. People are giving him a hard time for that. I don't think the route was to come back. I think he's supposed to sit down. But Buster comes in and makes the play.
Buster read his eyes. Gino was probably a tick slow in reading it. It was a cover 2 look. I can't say it was cover 2 or cover 6. I don't know which one because I don't know. I haven't seen what the other side of the field was doing, but that half of the field was a cover 2 look. Buster reads his eyes. He just jumps on the ball. It's not significantly different than the interception that Travis Hunter got against UCF in college. Like, it was very similar to that.
It was much worse. That was a lob.
Yeah. So it was very similar to that. So overall, it was a great play by Buster, reading his eyes, making that play. And again, we've always said that Buster plays well in this defense. And the few times that he will get in trouble was like on that one play where they ran the crosser across the field and kind of just ran from him on that long, I believe it was like a 25-yard catch and run. Outside of that, those kind of scenarios where you're putting Buster in man-on-man scenarios, he's going to be fine. Like, he's going to work out fine. But again, I still have concerns over the Jaguars linebackers and safeties when they're trying to guard these tight ends, because again, that was the big issue. And also tackling these running backs out of the backfield. That was literally their game plan this week. And that's been the game plan for nearly, what, I don't know, 3 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Especially with Devin Lloyd being injured. That's where they're targeting the middle of the field. They're targeting the Jaguars and saying, you're not going to tackle these guys out of the backfield. And for the most part, the Jaguars defense has kind of been struggling. That's why there were so many lead changes late in this one.
Well, and let me ask you this too. With a quarterback like Geno, I feel like he was trying, he being Anthony Campanelli, was trying to play or scheme for Geno too much, like he was a John Matthew Stafford or a Sam Darnold. I think a Geno Smith is a guy you sit back and blitz a little less. Granted, I know the pass rush is terrible, but hear me out. I feel like he's a guy that the longer he has the ball, the more dangerous it is for the offense. But instead of attacking him, you give him, oh, okay, well, if I'm blitzed there, I know to go here. That kind of scenario, as I put my hand in front of the camera. But do you feel like there was an element of that where maybe he was blitzing too much? I was just curious to hear your thought on that.
I didn't think he blitzed too much at all. And I think he actually played Geno as the man who Geno generally is. The problem, or Geno has been this year.
Okay.
Because we talked about it before the game. Like most teams, for the most part, don't really blitz Geno like that. And they just play coverage and make him beat you. The unfortunate part about this is Geno played well in checking the ball down. Again,
he really did
check the ball down. And that's what generally what Anthony Campanelli's defense is built to do. They want you to check the ball down. But then you got to make the tackles. You can't miss tackles after you check the ball down. You have to be able to cover those tight ends, because sometimes those checkdowns can result in 8 yards. And the Raiders seem very happy with taking those 8 yards. I mean, they had so many long drives, after that first, after they failed on the opening drive, where it was like 5 plays and then they punted. Then they had a 10-play drive for 43 yards, but then they turned it over on downs. A 13-play 95-yard touchdown drive. They had the Buster Brown interception at the half. Then an 8-play 37-yard field goal drive, 9-play 69-yard touchdown drive, 5-play 62-yard touchdown drive, and then you have the 8-play 45-yard drive in overtime. Like, they lived on the field, brother. And that's because of those checkdowns. The Raiders were happy with taking them, and that's the worst thing for a defense that's saying, we're fine with you just getting you off the field later, if that makes sense, because the Jaguars did well to bend and not break until later when they started breaking a lot.
Yeah, well, and there were some bigger plays, I feel like, late, too. They started picking on certain elements as well. I think Robert Lamison makes a good point here. Brock Bowers saved Geno from throwing another pick. That probably seals the game. Foye, well, it wasn't a pick six. You heard Mark Schlereth talking. He's not right about that. But I think that Foye had a beat on that ball. And if Bowers wasn't Bowers, that wasn't a play. By the way, can we not act like Geno didn't get bailed out plenty by both Bowers and Genty a little bit? Okay. A one-handed catch for a touchdown that's decided because your butt hit the ground first. I mean, can we give Bowers the flowers? See, it even rhymes. I'm awesome. But
sure. No, sure. I'm not. That's not really where my mind is at. My mind is not about the other guys making plays, and they did make plays. But let's be real. They probably would have scored on many of those drives anyways, because they were on the field so long. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm still concerned about the Jaguars defense when I said it after the Seahawks game, when teams saw that the Jaguars safeties were going to be a problem in coverage. You saw that without Devin Lloyd in coverage, that middle of the field is now open for business. Like, the Jaguars were at one point leading the league in EPA loss in throws in the middle of the field. And half of the NFL modern offenses are built on throwing between those hashes. Like even the McVay offense, all the in-breaking routes, that's literally where they live. So with Devin Lloyd playing out of his mind earlier in the season, it made teams avoid the area that their offenses are generally built on dominating in, those same areas, the areas where CJ Stroud would love to hit off play action. They would then avoid those areas. Well, now it's open for business. Lloyd ain't there. Eric Murray's hurt. When we just saw the busted coverage on what could have been the last play of the game in a loss for the Jaguars, but Antonio Johnson and Dewey gives up the touchdown play on the play before that. That's two Jaguars starting safeties right there that we're naming. Like this is what I'm talking about. It's I don't know that helps on the way unless the Jaguars are trading for a safety sometime soon. And
the
Eric,
clock
and
is
Caleb,
ticking, right?
and Caleb Bransall is injured. Like he's on IR. So that's kind of is what it is. So like it's a positive thing that the Jaguars found a way to just muck this thing up, and they just like this grimy, gritty win, but also in this game of inches. Let's be honest and say 1 play, 3 inches, whatever you want to call it, from losing that same game. It's come down to that 1 play, and we just showed you the play. And now wide open and pissed off Tyler Lockett was for being wide the hell open.
Surrender code.
That's the game.
I love what you do for me, Toyota. No, but the whole thing is Radius puts it in. Man, they look thin at DB and wide receiver now. It looked like preseason out there with Tim Jones and Austin Trammell. Yeah, no, we made that point to open earlier. I should say to open, but we mentioned that earlier. I flashed a comment earlier. I think it was Zenith. I forget who said it. Looked like the Packers game from last year for a bit. One difference, I think Brenton Strange was actually on that field. So, might be a little different, but there's a certain element I want to bring into play there too, as well, just because a couple things came up. Social Alki brings it up. Honestly, who was nervous that we, the Jags, chose to get the ball first in OT? I'm one of the weird ones. Okay. It bothers me less. Let me tell you why. And by the way, if you've been paying any attention to Liam Cohen and Jimmy Stones, you should not be surprised that it's how it went. There's something to be said for dictating what's going on in the game. He was confident, Liam Cohen, I believe, that they would be able to control the ball on the ground on this point. It's overtime. Mm-hmm. You came out first. That defense has shown they're a little tired, right? He started to notice the way that Travis Etienne, which, by the way, we haven't done it yet. Can we agree that Travis Etienne is the offensive player of the game for his contribution in both the ground and air attacks? I'm just throwing it out.
Even a question. My Big Cat Country or game recap. 115 yards from scrimmage and a game where you guys controlled the clock. Like I think you're absolutely going to end up getting that player of the game award. Just
checking.
I don't think there's another argument.
We can move on.
But no, you guys in the comments. If you disagree, if you think that someone else deserves the player of the game, please let us know in the chat. Like I would love to have that conversation.
We did mention Parker Washington as an honorable mention there too for those who were listening earlier. But here's what it is for me, because Liam Cohen and company noticed that the run game was working. They stuck to it in overtime and eventually used it to win. It feels ironic that somebody noticed that the run game was working late in a game and they stuck with it. Right, Pete Carroll? I said what I said.
It's been something that people have complained about frequently for Josh, like for the Jaguars, right? Like they'll say Trevor Lawrence threw for 45 attempts, or Trevor Lawrence threw for 40 attempts, or whatever the number ends up being on a week by week basis for the last like 3 or 4 weeks, and that the Jaguars got away from the run, that they should have continued running. Hell, I even said earlier this week I thought that Cohen was going to take a page out of Sean McVay's book and run a lot more 3 tight end sets, but then I didn't realize we weren't going to have 3 tight ends on the roster. But they did run a lot more O-line, 3 O-line, a 6 O-lineman basically playing tight end, like Cole Van Landen playing tight end at various moments. And it helped the run game. Like the fact of the matter is the Jaguars ran the ball 42 damn times in this game.
Okay, none of you should be complaining.
Dude, I was having that conversation with PJ with Pete. Was it PT? In the Duval Dive YouTube in the comments on the last video about the fact that I wanted the Jaguars to do something like and I said it specifically like the 2005 or 2008 Miami Dolphins did with the Wildcat. I need them to bring the wing tee or something out just for this game. I literally said it, and then 4 days later. These boys out there running the Wildcat with Travis Etienne, and I'm like, well, Cohen, hats off to you, brother. Like his dad taught the wing tee. So in my head, I'm like, I just need to see them lean into this smash mouth football thing, and this is the game for it, and they absolutely did it. And I give them credit for that because they weren't struggling in the first half because of things like scheme. They were struggling in the first half because they just couldn't get out of their own damn way. Penalties, pre-snap penalties, like we know what that is. Like that's the thing that just won't go away right now with the false starts, the illegal formations, and all of that stuff. But then defensively later start picking up on it and getting their own penalties. And I will acknowledge that multiple of them were definitely questionable. The penalties that were called on the defense specifically. But
absolutely, yeah. And somebody asked about Trayvon Walker and the ejection earlier. I'll get to that in a minute. Social Alki responds with the academic retort: if you allow the defense first, you know exactly what you need in overtime to get on the field. Each team is guaranteed a possession in a 10-minute quarter, rarely two. Correct. And rarely two is the argument for getting the ball first, because you have the third possession if you survive, and you have the one with you then are the one with the ball, right? If both sides scores the field goal and you had the ball first, chances are you're the one who has it third with the final possession. It's a calculated risk. And man, listen, this is the kind of stuff that makes horse races and great bar debates. But in a situation, you got a guy like Geno who's not known for being clutch, even though a penalty put them right where they needed to be.
Yeah, I was about to say,
yeah. Sometimes, man, listen, sometimes you eat the bear and sometimes it eats you. It's just where it lands.
But you have an offensive head coach. He's going to lean in with his confidence in his offense. Obviously, like that's the biggest piece about it. So, and the way that game went, the fact that there were so many lead changes in the fourth quarter and also in overtime, you kind of felt like whoever got the ball last was probably going to win. And maybe you wanted some time to kind of talk to your defense, not having your offense feel deflated or something like that. If they end up scoring points earlier and then, feeling pressured or something like that. So maybe you just I wanted to be in control of it. And I understand that too.
To be clear, we're not saying either side is right or wrong, but let's also, if you were wondering how it happened, let us remind you of the philosophy of this organization in general.
Hey, one of the trademarks of our leadership group is that when there's an opportunity to be bold, we won't flinch.
Okay, if you're surprised they took the ball first, I can't help you. Again, it's not about right or wrong. It's about I'm not surprised they did it. You know what I mean?
But I think it's the fact that most people are still concerned, and I think that's what all this really comes down to. It's a game that you don't feel great about, but you are still happy that they won, and you're happy with the overall record, while not being happy with how it feels. Does that make sense? Like, I'm happy, right? Like I'm happy about a good thing happening, but I'm not happy about what I feel like it's going to cost me later. If that makes sense. You got Travis Hunter, who's not like you still got a lot of questions that aren't answered right now with this organization, with this team, and I fully understand that. And I'm not trying to blow smoke at people,
You always be real with the divers, Travis.
But I want to be honest about, like, all right, cool. You don't know how to feel about the interception for Trevor Lawrence early in the game. I understand. I got it. It was a ridiculous throw. It was a ridiculous decision. De'Ami Brown also was not fighting back downhill for the ball. I thought that was odd. But also, he probably wasn't expecting his quarterback to throw a ball that he was not remotely open on. And I understand that also.
That's where I'm at. There's no way De'Ami expected that. Can we have a conversation real quick? I know
it was a shovel pass.
Yeah, and he missed the opportunity to shovel it. Let's be real. But yeah, on that drive, we're not ever going to talk about it, but the throw to De'Ami Brown for the completion that got them down the field to start to set that opportunity on the red zone up might be the best pass to De'Ami Brown all season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing now because of that play in the end zone with the Trevor interception. Period. Point.
You're talking about the corner route, right?
Damn right, I'm talking about the corner route.
Yeah. But Trevor's had a few of those, man. Like, there was like just dang good throws like that. Like, he had one to BTJ like 2 or 3 weeks ago also, and I was just like,
yeah. But notice how I worded it. De'Ami Brown's best catch of the year was that. I feel like you agree with me. Okay. Well,
and it sucks that De'Ami ended up getting injured in the game also. That's the other part. I actually thought this was going to be a big game for De'Ami. That turned into a big game for Parker Washington, who ended up being one of the only ones who was willing to go in the middle of the field, take these hits, and hold on to the ball and not go through their tipping, basically. Yeah, Social Alki says not to be negative, but Trevor is the most frustrating quarterback to be a fan of and to defend to other people. He is still my quarterback. By the way, all the other AFC South teams lost today. Correct. Jaguars are second in the AFC South, still behind the 7-2 Indianapolis Colts because they got boat raced by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, not both.
And
That was a touchdown.
man, they got boat race. Like that game wasn't as close as that score said. Like,
I watched the film. I'm sorry, I hadn't gotten to it yet, bro. My bad. I had my 6-year-old. He was watching football. He was getting into it in a way it hadn't happened before. I felt ways. I have not had a chance to analyze the dimes yet.
I had arguments with people about the Colts team before the season because remember, I said they were going to be a 9-win team going into the season. I had confidence in that, and people told me I was crazy even when I said that. And now I got other people telling me that
I was crazy. You could admit it on this.
No. Because now I got other people. Now I got other people who is now like reactionary, and they're telling me that Colts team is a 13-win team, and I'm like, no, they are not. No, they are not. And I'm having those arguments with people saying like, nah, man, like that is a team that got lucky. They should have lost against the Arizona Cardinals with the backup quarterback. They were down. They should have lost against the Denver Broncos. Like they were down late against the Arizona Cardinals, like with 4 minutes left in the game. They should have lost to
one of those
Denver
because they had an unfortunate situation in the Rams game that people say they should have won that. So we'll take one of them away, but you still sneaking by.
They should have lost against Denver. But my overall point was as soon as you stop that run game and you make Daniel Jones be a quarterback, you're going to have problems. And that's what happened today. They made Daniel Jones be a quarterback and they had problems. And
Taylor might actually be an MVP candidate like we've been talking about, Travis.
Yeah. So the AFC South is absolutely the Jaguars for the taking, but at the same time, the Jaguars got to be looking and feeling like a team that's going to take it. And they got the win today, and that's the sign of a team that is at least prepping to try to make a push. But let's be real and let's be honest about what we just saw in this game. That Raiders team was struggling. The Jaguars were also equally struggling. And this was two pretty even teams, and if you feel great about this win, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about that, like that stance, if that makes sense. Because it depends on how you feel about the Raiders.
Right. Well, here's what I feel about the Raiders, such as they were today. I think you made the point best. I think they were the best roster they've basically been all season, offensively.
Yeah.
Right. They had Bowers back. They had Tyler Lockett in the building. Right.
Yeah. And compare them to what we previously seen in the last like 6 or 7 weeks.
You got it. Exactly. That's why I said it the way I said it. This is the best Raiders offense the Jags were going to see while down Hunter, while down
everybody,
Lloyd, while losing I want to see if I can get it right this time. While losing Lewis, while being down Murray, while losing Trayvon, Trayvon Walker. Did I get everybody? I think I did. So the punchline is, and not for nothing, I know Foyer had some, I won't even call them misses, more like, two forces of nature battled, and sometimes Brock Bowers won and sometimes he did. But I mentioned him as a key factor, and I think he made enough plays to keep those 2 or 3 inches they needed to get the win to happen, is kind of where I'm at. I know there was one where he was covering Bowers in the end zone, and they weren't able to connect.
Like a stretch. That feels like a stretch. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like Foyer had a boatload of tackles. I think there you go. Foyer had 11 tackles today. Jarian had 10. Goodness gracice.
That's not a good sign for a corner to have 10 tackles. I'm just gonna throw that.
Well, he's a corner who's in the nickel, so you got to treat him like a linebacker.
Fair.
So I'll acknowledge that piece. It was only 6 of them were solos. So at that point, there's a lot of collecting tackles, a lot like Foyer if you're coming in clean. So I would treat that positively. For Jarian Jones, as far as that's concerned. But I will be honest and say I didn't notice Foyer a lot in the game as far as making these big plays or anything along those lines.
Big moments he was involved in, right? There was the one, there's one he lost where against a lesser tight end, it would have been an interception, but Bowers was a bigger dude and a better receiver than many tight ends in the league and won the day.
Yeah. But if we act like Foyer Aluakon is supposed to be a top 5, top 10, whatever you rank you want to put him in linebacker, then I also expect him to win that. I don't think that's a shade that being thrown at him to say where you say if it's a lesser tight end.
You expect a middle linebacker to be able to cover Brock Bowers.
I expect a top 10 linebacker to be able to win his share of those battles against Brock Bowers. Yeah, I don't think that's again.
So
That's
you
not
gonna
throwing
see
shade at Foye Lucan.
for
If
losing
Foye
one?
Lucan is sitting in my face right now, and he would tell me he's gonna win half
No,
of
no,
those,
no.
or he's gonna
That's
win
different.
60%
That's
of
who
them.
Foye is. Hold on now.
Then what we talking about? I'm holding him to the standard he hold himself to. That's all we talking about, baby.
Listen, you going like a lawyer and you're making good points, but that's not. I don't think that's the same thing. But I like what you're saying. I'm not dissing your I don't call it critique. It's analysis. I think you're just saying facts of the case, man.
Yeah.
And Foye would agree with you. Who am I to argue? I got it. What Storm the Desert jumps in. Trevor's the kind of guy that will get a 1,500 on the SAT and then all of a sudden won't know what 1 + 1 is. Yes. Storm the Desert does it again. You know what, Storm the Desert? You need to change your ish to Oasis because you'll be always finding that water in the desert. Let's go. That's perfect.
But that's your kid. That's your son. And you're going to still champion him when he get that 1,500, all right? And we're going to still scratch our head when he don't know what 1 + 1 means. And that's okay. That's it. He ain't just a kid. He is your kid. So you're gonna clap to that little tink. All right? Cool.
Oh my God.
But
that's great.
No, show Buster love, please. No, we did. We already showed Buster love. Like that interception was great. The Cam Little the kick was obviously incredible. It was bound to happen.
More importantly, I don't know about you. I got lemon booty on his 2 other kicks, though, right? Can we stop with the 68-yarder is the easiest to have made? You tried to curl in the chip shot, and then you barely snuck in the tie thing. I mean, listen,
add his context, bro. I'm saying add his context around that kick, though. Like the fact that he was so down, and I'm not saying him personally. I'm saying like everything surrounding him, the conversation surrounding him since that 70-yarder, and it has all been downhill, and it's been. Hey man, look at his warm-ups. Look how off he is. All this other murmur to then come out of the bye week, and his first field goal attempt is a freaking 68-yarder. That's the one to break this. Like, is just like, oh man. And yes, to your point, there was absolutely like tight booty. That was lemon booty about those other 2 kicks. But for me, it was that before the kicks, not after the kicks. It was that in my head. It was like, please, Cam, don't miss these. Don't make the 68-yarder NFL record and then miss these other kicks that end up losing the game. Because then that would have been so much more heartfelt. Like,
I'm saying when I saw it start the hook at the upright, I'm like, oh Lord, come on now, just a little bit, buddy. Come on now.
Yeah, and this is a great conversation just on the socials because I think that's the fantasy football community in general. We're all kind of pissed off about the fact that Brian Thomas Jr. didn't get more targets. Alamo 23U says Parker Washington received more targets and receptions than BTJ after Travis Hunter's injury. What's the point of BTJ?
So I can respond to this. It's not that it's a bad take, and I'm not going to call you a box score watcher, but that point is box score watcher adjacent, right? How often did you see Julio Jones in in Matt Ryan's, and I'm going to air quote MVP year because we all know it was really Julio, right? How often would you see Julio Jones go from like a 200-yard game receiving and then come out with like 14? What would happen in those games where he didn't have as much? The other receivers would go off. Why? Because Julio's drawing the attention. You're going to tell me on this roster, on this day, that BTJ is not getting the attention from the Raiders defense? That's exactly what it is. And are you going to cover the backup that's stepping in for Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
Over
right, there's no Hunter, there's only BTJ. This is the 2024 Jaguars if you're looking at it from that perspective. Like, you lose De'Ami Brown early for injury also. So at that point, this is truly very similar to the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 roster, where it's BTJ and company. So if you're the defense, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm shading the coverage to BTJ. And if you're the quarterback, if you're throwing the ball to that guy, well, then you out of pocket. Let's be real, because the fantasy football community wants well, why is BTJ not getting these targets, but De'Ami Brown and Parker Washington and fill in the blank person is getting all these targets? Because that's what the coverage dictates, probably. Like, That's
And it's a
yeah.
side note, if we're going to throw out the fantasy defense, Travis, you know who the real winners is for the real baller knowers that also play fantasy? The sleeper picks. Parker Washington made somebody look real smart today.
Yeah, man. 8 catches for 90 yards. Parker Washington on 9 targets. So so that's the part that folks aren't talking about. Why is Parker Washington getting 9 targets? Because he caught 8 of them. Is that a good enough answer? The fact of the matter, he caught 8 of his 9 targets. That's why he's getting 9 targets. Make sense?
Let me flip that on its head. There's somebody in the Raiders front office right now that's saying to Pete Carroll's defensive coordinator, why'd you let that man catch 8 balls? He's just Parker Washington.
I mean, sure. Hey, man, shout out Travis Etienne with the 31 yards receiving also. 5 catches, 31 yards. That's extended runs right there, man. 6.2 yards of reception and his 82 yards in the air, on the ground also. 22 rushes. Like, that's establishing the run game. Boy, that's pretty dope. Like, and Bashaw Tootin, I mean, he didn't like light it up or anything like that. But again, you get he was the more physical of the two. Like, he 9 rushes, 29 yards, touchdown.
Huge plays today. Huge individual plays on thirds and shorts. Travis, I think I've officially seen the best 4-yard run of all time, and it was to convert a third. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's almost out and he plants his hand and like his feet are scraping. Like, you know, he got the thunder mushroom in Mario Kart and he had to shrink. And like, so he's going along the ground and suddenly gets back up to that. You describe it better. I don't know. It's all I got. But he managed just to keep going past the line and get a few more. Was amazing.
His feet never stop. His feet never stop, man. Like, I'll give him that. And then last but not least, Trevor Lawrence for the betting community, because I've seen that in my chats. They were like over under on Trevor Lawrence rushing the ball for six plus times, and then Trevor comes out with 9 rushes. All right, yep. Trevor runs the ball 9 times for 29 yards. That's basically the Chiefs game plan all over again. Sorry, I said 29 yards, 24 yards, 9 times 24 yards for 2 touchdowns on the ground. That'll do. That's a way to grit it out.
To be fair, it was 54, I think, for the Chiefs. But if you had the under on that and you missed it, you need to blame Hunter Long for dropping the touchdown.
Oh, I mean, that's also technically fair. But yeah, radius. Bowers had 12 or 13 for 127 and a hat trick, and the Jags still didn't lose. I mean, yeah, I think that's what that sounds right. I know he had the 3 touchdowns for sure. Bowers had 12 receptions, 3 touchdowns, 127 yards, 13 targets. Jeez, he caught 12 of 13 targets, man. All right, that ain't great, but no, nevertheless, we've seen a few games like this now. When you have you'll have Jamar Chase where they'll go off, or you will have one guy on the other team basically explodes and does well. But as long as you limit the other guys, you're probably going to be all right. That really wasn't what happened here. Bowers went off. Basically all the time. Like, Genty had 47 yards receiving, had 42 yards rushing. That was a pretty solid game for him also, because again, he also scored a touchdown. When you got 4 touchdowns given up to the other team's quarterback, you can't say you just limited anything at that point. They had their way. This was all the offense kind of keeping you in the game at that point. Like, the Jaguars did bend but not break on a few occasions earlier on, but after that fourth quarter started, it was a wrap for all defense on both teams. So they got answers that need to be answered there.
Other than 1 carry for Genty, right? If you do the math, he had as long as a 13-yarder, right? So that drops him to 29. That's 12 for 29 on the remaining carries. That's relatively contained on the ground.
Sure, it's relatively contained on the ground. But again, I thought the Raiders felt comfortable with just taking taking those body punches, and that's why I think both teams kind of wanted to run that clock, especially later in the game, and that's why the game ended at like 8 o'clock, despite the fact that it was nearly a whole overtime period. Like, the clock was running.
Yeah, well, and the Jags were running it mostly. Let's be honest. But if I'm the Raiders too, I'm attacking the Jaguars in this way. You're missing all these DBs. We know your edge rush has not been great. I'm trying to take a shot with Gino airing it out and having Bowers bail him out when he can't see it. 100%. I don't think there's any shocks at what the Raiders did here offensively.
KV Hawk, tale of two Trevors. First half off target throws, second half better accuracy and situational management. And yeah, I think that's actually fair. But that's what always seems to happen with Trevor. Is that he's very streaky in that way. He normally starts off a little bit slower. And I don't know if that's the reason that the Jaguars have struggled on those opening series or not. Like that's been going back a few seasons now, or if it's just something else that's going on there. But to that point, like, yeah, whether it's situational management, whether it's just missing throws and or not being on the same page with the receivers, because folks got mad at Trevor for the throw to De'Ami Brown early in the game. That was a curl route, and in my head, I'm like, I understand that may not necessarily be a Trevor Lawrence thing, and I can't tell you who's right and who's wrong because it looked like a curl route to me. And if it is a curl route, then why is De'Ami Brown drifting inside where the linebacker is versus Trevor Lawrence trying to put it on him where it's not going to end up being an interception? Like, I get that from both sides. So I'm not willing.
Look like a curl to me, but you're right. If it was, he should be driving to the ball. That part is actually,
because it looked very similar to the Parker Washington play that happens later in the game where he hits Parker Washington on the chest, and the announcer, I believe Mark Sheriff, is like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to look. And Trevor Lawrence is sharpening that. I'm like, yeah, but it looks like the same play. It just looks like Parker Washington ran a curl, set it down. De'Ami, instead of sitting it down, just curved inside where the linebacker happened to be sitting. So Trevor's trying to throw it away from the guy to kind of save the turnover, which in my head makes sense.
The fact that Mark Schlereth said anything positive about Trevor Lawrence is in itself remarkable, because I'm not going to call him a Trevor hater, but he a critic. I'm just going to throw that out.
No, I'm not going to say he's a critic of Trevor. I think he's a critic of quarterbacks, of just like, I think he just wants to tell everybody he knows where the ball should be thrown and all this other stuff. I'm going to be real, because folks always say that they think Sheriff hates Trevor. And I'm like, I've listened to a few of his games, and honestly, it just feels like he got these takes that he need to get off about quarterback play in general. And Trevor makes a lot of bad decisions, being real, because he was also critical of Geno in his game. And I'm just trying to be honest about that. Like, he'll say something like, oh yeah, he ain't like where the placement was, and I'm like, well, at least he's giving the other guy a little bit of this. Like, all right,
yeah, but if the Jags do something, like if Trevor did something good for the Jags, he's over here propping Palomau when he got beat on a play too. By the way, that's why it looks.
I will say this: he will be sure to let you know that Trevor Lawrence has been struggling lately.
Correct.
He'll say it in every other sentence. I'll give you that. He'll be like, yeah, and Parker Washington, you got to catch that because your quarterback has been struggling for 3 damn weeks. I'll be like, Lord Jesus, why you got to mention that? Like, that wasn't even his fault then. So I'm with you, bro. I do understand that. That was funny.
You see it, we're good, man. Shoot.
I do see it.
Oh, man, that's funny. But guys, yeah, this was a game, and I want to get this point out too. I don't think I'm saying anything that's going to surprise anybody, but this is a game that just completely explains why it's hard to figure out Trevor Lawrence. There's no middle ground anymore. Well,
that's what the radio guy from the Rams said. He's like, hey man, Trevor Lawrence must be an enigma for you guys to cover, because it's so hard to try to figure out who he is. You love him, and then you hate him for a quarter, and then at the end of the game, you just don't feel great about any of it. But you're just like, well, that's my quarterback. Like, it's a lot. It's a roller coaster, and I fully understand. And it's a roller coaster that some people love to be on, and other people are like, I'm a little sick right now. And then I understand all sides of riding that roller coaster. It is what it is. But the Jaguars are 5-3. That's the takeaway from this one. They were absolutely 3 inches, 5 inches, whatever you want to call it, from being 4-4, but they're not.
The tip of Devon Hamilton's finger away, however many inches it is, because my hands are small.
Hey man, that man got hops. That man got up there. Let's go. And Robert Lamson says Cam Little should be special teams player of the week. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard not to be when you get the when you break the NFL record, which we knew was going to be broken sometime soon, because all these kickers are getting up there with these long kicks. But Cam is still up there with the 68-yarder and the 70 in the preseason.
There were several games today decided by field goals at the end of the game. But because he did it 68 toward the end of the half, I'm with you. It's hard.
And I'm so sorry for all the gamblers who picked the under, man. Like,
I told everybody this game was going to get into the 50s. Nobody wanted to listen. Now, granted, I got lucky with overtime.
It was 59. Like, and it It was
But did I not
59
tell
with-
them 50s? Yeah, I said that on Thursday, right? Just saying.
Yeah, 31 points in the fourth quarter. 31 points in the fourth quarter alone is crazy. And then another 13 in overtime. It was before that. You got like nothing going on, man. Like you got like 15 points in the whole rest of the game.
Mike reminds me of something I didn't put together with Schlereth yet. Was he on that team that the Jags eliminated back when?
I thought he said I thought Sheriff said he didn't like Jacksonville because something about the Super Bowl. Thought it was something like that.
I mean, that could be true too, but I mean, he didn't have very much to do with the Super Bowl that year, did he? Anyway, too soon. Anyway,
Jimmy Stone's doesn't flip. So I'm looking forward to having all the conversations surrounding the trade deadline and what moves the Jaguars do or don't make. Coming soon. But
say maybe
Kristen
we'll walk
says,
through our
"Nah,
tears
just take the
again.
dub."
Right? Just take the dub.
Just take the dub.
Or
hey, man,
make it fully ironic. Playing the Raiders, just win, baby. There you go.
So no. It was a good win. It might not have felt good for 3/4 of it, but it was a good win when you give the context of everything that happened around it. And at the end of the day, enjoy your victory Monday. I know the players will enjoy their day off. I think this Cohen said he's going to see the team on Wednesday, and just give them time to get healthy and everything else, because they said the team's going to get back in at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good game to feel good about, and it was a gritty win. It wasn't the Chiefs game, but if the Raiders popped out tomorrow and won against the Chiefs, everybody will look at this game a lot differently, because again, we've established that this was a more dominant, more complete, more healthy Raiders team that we've seen all year, and they generally do play teams like in their division very close, like the Chiefs and like the Broncos, etc. So I think it's too early to necessarily say what that Raiders team is, because I think they did play very well today, and I think the Jaguars also played very rough to start the half and played a very good fourth quarter and overtime to kind of make this thing make people feel better about what it is. So because of all that, I'm just saying, hey man, yeah, enjoy the victory, enjoy your victory Monday, and we'll talk about whatever it's going to be, this week.
Quick thing to add that I didn't include in all the list of ish that was going wrong with the Jags that made this the game that the Raiders had to win to be believable. Trevor had the flu as well. So there's that.
That is a great flu game. And especially with his Superman dive over the top that I know coaching staff I know they don't love, because, the fumble over the top and everything else. But hey man, when it works out, it works out.
I have it right here in my notes for all the years we've watched Trevor do that together on TV or in the press box. It's right here in my notes. It finally worked.
Wait, so let's see. Did Walker Little have a bad game today from your perspective? Because Topa's asking, can we officially say Walker Little needs to be traded or released without people defending him? And I got questions.
Today ain't the game for it. I'll say that. In any sheet where Crosby walks away with, I'm gonna double check it, but I thought he only had one sack. In any game where Crosby only has, the Raiders on the whole only had one sack. I'll put it this way. There were other O-linemen I was more disappointed with than Walker Little. And especially in a game where you're able to run it like that. I think I had heard that the Raiders hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher yet. Now, granted, I would have to check what it was going into overtime, because I know they ran the ball a lot in overtime. But you finish 42 with 151 on the ground. That's not a bad O-line day. It's just not.
But it was also 84 yards for Travis Etienne. Still didn't get 4 yards a carry, but it was effective. I will acknowledge, the 20-yard long, but that was more of the fact that the Jaguars were dedicated to rushing.
There's a few things that also artificially reduce that, like a quarterback sneak being successful 3 different times throughout the game lowers your average. Bayshall bashing into the end zone for a 4th carry will lower your average. Those are successful plays by the O-line, but it doesn't turn into yards per carry. So these are other things worth considering.
Yeah, and Preston Timms was giving Trevor his flowers about the last drive and the overtime drive with the practice squad positions, and I'm like, but he says, but besides my man ETN, of course, and that's rough because I'm not trying to demean anything that anyone said, but when you say, hey, he drove them down the field to make this thing happen, and I'm like, oh yeah, they absolutely did well there, but then also they were leaning on the run game for a good portion of that also, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like, what I mean, the fourth quarter,
And
like there was
Trammell gave him a great return to open overtime too. So special teams did their part.
So in overtime you're starting on the other side of the 50. So I got to, but nevertheless, Trevor was sharp. Like he did what he was supposed to do. I'm not trying to demean anything that he did. I'm just saying, like at one point in the fourth quarter, it was 10 out of the 13 plays were run plays. At that point, even a designed run play for the quarterback's, quarterback draw for a touchdown. So obviously, that's not exactly all just Trevor Lawrence. That's the team, and that's the scheme. That's just finding a way to get it done. And I'm here for it. Be clear, winning matters. And they did win the game, but also it wasn't just Trevor like doing all of this on his own. Like that was the run game, that was the offensive line, that was all these guys. Now the last series, the field goal drive to take the game to overtime. No, that was absolutely like legitimately good. Like the Travis Etienne 16-yard pass to kind of get this thing going down, I believe to like the 30-35 yard line to get in the field goal range was already just incredible. And that was Trevor Lawrence just taking what's there, take the check downs, and then the Tim Jones catch and run where he breaks the tackle, gets down the field, gets out of bounds, all of that. Like that's great. Trevor did well in the second half, and if he can find a way to delete those those issues in the first half, those situations, those gaps in the first half, you're probably ecstatic about him right now. But it's hard to be ecstatic because those first halves still exist.
Yeah, exactly. Preston Timms, I think, evaluates Walker Little perfectly, as I would like to say it. It was a common Walker Little game, decent except for a few really bad plays. Yeah, I think that's a good take.
I guess I didn't see anything that was just like terrible for him, especially playing against Max Crosby. Like this wasn't the Trey Hendrickson game where you have the 2 or 3 could be game-changing plays or something like that. Like nah. So I didn't think this was the game to talk bad about Walker Little. Maybe he didn't play as great, and now I'll have to watch it on replay or something. Maybe I missed something because
maybe you see it on film. Hey, we'll be talking about it on Wednesday if you did. So there's that.
Yeah, but I think it was a fine game by him. Just a good, solid offensive line game where you don't hear about the guy's name too much, which means that's good. I don't want to hear your name. If I hear your name, it's bad things.
Man,
also,
you know what I love about
the Jaguars?
Oh yeah,
may end up playing a CJ Stroudless, Houston Texans. We'll see how CJ is going to be doing with the concussion protocol. Like that's going to be interesting. Also,
that was a rough hit, man. I feel bad for that. With what happened there.
It was a rough hit. It was as rough as Shair's hit on Trevor Lawrence. But I'm curious to see how D'Amico Ryans felt about the hit, seeing as he was the one championing his guy who hit Trevor Lawrence, and it was a much different and much later hit on Lawrence. So I was just curious to see how that was messaging. That messaging came down in his locker room when it's his guy get taken the. Ain't no fun with a rabbit got the gun. You know what I mean?
I'm sure that will come up throughout our week. So Alki points out that karma can be a ... Anyway, so with that in mind, these Duval divers still keeping the conversation going when we're towards the end of the show. Make sure you guys keep talking amongst yourselves. We'll certainly bring it into the next show here on Wednesday. But Travis D. Holmes, let the world know, man.
Oh, you can find me on all the socials. Sorry, I'm just laughing at Storm the Desert.
I know exactly what you're laughing at. I'm not bringing that smoke to this podcast. Save it.
He's talking about Travis Etienne's bad, just terrible, no good throw on the flea flicker. And hey, man, it worked out kind of, but that's rough. Anyways, you can find me on all the socials. Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com. And if you're listening to the sound of my voice, please click that like button on the stream. If you're listening to us wherever you get your podcast, please rate and review us there. Again, I know it's just such a small thing. If you can just help us out with that, it helps us with the algorithm. It's comments on the stream, all those things. But yeah, lock it in at BigCatCountry.com and lock it in on all the socials so we can talk some more Jazz football.
Where can you be found, sir?
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student. You can find me on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold banneret covering the UCF Knights football and basketball, and also my work covering the Orlando Magic and as the producer of the Bolt Blitz Uncut podcast as well. If you care about their instant reaction to the Chargers beating the Titans, hey, listen, I kept an AFC South relevant. Make sure you check that out, Bolt Blitz Uncut. So, for my personal champion, Travis T. Holmes, for you Duval divers still working in the comments, my goodness gracious, it's awesome what you guys. This is Kyle Nash, the student of the game. Until next time, everyone, class dismiss.